What if you've been chasing success the wrong way? Not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because no one ever gave you the real rules of the game. You've set goals, worked hard, maybe even seen some wins, but deep down, there's a voice that says, there's more, you're not there yet. And the truth is, you're right. Most people live their entire lives reacting to problems, to other people's expectations, to fear, to failure. They stay busy, but they're not growing. They're surviving, not evolving. The scary part, you can be doing everything right on the outside and still feel completely off on the inside, stuck in the same cycles, starting and stopping, wondering why real, lasting change feels so far out of reach. But here's the secret. Growth doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing things differently. It's not about adding to your to-do list. It's about subtracting the patterns that are holding you back, the lies you tell yourself, the standards you've accepted, the comfort zones you've mistaken for safety. If your life is stuck, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're running a blueprint that no longer serves you. There comes a moment, a line in the sand where you realize you don't need permission to evolve. You just need a decision, a real one. The kind that shifts energy in your body, the kind that rewrites your story. This is the moment when people stop asking if they're ready and start declaring they are, not because they have all the answers, but because they're finally done waiting. The only question is, are you at that moment right now? Because everything can change if you are. Every person at some point reaches a crossroads, the quiet moment where they pause and think, is this all there is? It could be after a long stretch of routine. It could be in the middle of success that somehow still feels empty, or it might come during a period of struggle where nothing seems to work despite the effort. That moment is universal. And in that space, the desire for something more begins to grow. Not more stuff, not just achievements or recognition, but something deeper, clarity, purpose, and a sense of real progress. Personal growth isn't just a buzzword or a temporary trend. It's a human need. Just like we crave connection and certainty, we also crave expansion. There's a part of you that's always seeking to evolve, to stretch beyond limitations, to become more than you were yesterday. But somewhere along the way, most people lose that spark. Life gets noisy, responsibilities pile up, the urgent overtakes the important, and without even realizing it, we trade growth for comfort and call it being realistic. But being realistic has never changed the world, has it? The people who create extraordinary lives aren't necessarily smarter or luckier. They've simply learned how to unlock a part of themselves that the rest of the world often ignores. They've discovered how to shift their mindset, take control of their energy, and design lives with intention instead of drifting by default. And that shift, it's not reserved for a special few. It's available to anyone willing to look within and commit to change. This isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about accessing what's already within you. Most people wait for motivation to strike. They wait for better circumstances, more time, or permission from someone else. But the truth is, transformation doesn't begin with waiting. It begins with a decision. A decision to stop settling, a decision to rewrite the rules, a decision to become the kind of person who doesn't just dream about change, but creates it. You don't need a perfect plan to begin. You don't need to have it all figured out. What you need is willingness, a willingness to step outside the familiar, a willingness to challenge your old story, a willingness to do the uncomfortable work that leads to the most rewarding outcomes. Because personal growth isn't something you stumble into, it's something you claim. So many people live their lives in quiet frustration. They follow the script they were given, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, try to be happy, but something still feels off. They check the boxes, meet expectations, do what they're supposed to do, yet deep inside there's a lingering sense of emptiness. It's not that they're failing necessarily. In fact, Many appear to be doing well by society standards, but success without fulfillment is still a form of failure. And that gap between where they are and where they truly want to be becomes a daily source of stress and confusion. The real problem isn't lack of desire. Most people want to grow. They want to feel alive, free, purposeful. The issue is they don't know how. They read books, listen to podcasts, even set ambitious goals, but nothing sticks. They get inspired for a while, then fall back into old patterns. The gym membership goes unused. The new habit fades after a few weeks. The journal ends up collecting dust. They blame themselves, thinking they lack discipline or motivation, but in truth, it's not a motivation issue, it's a strategy problem. Even more challenging is the invisible force of limiting beliefs. Without realizing it, people operate based on outdated ideas of who they are and what they're capable of. They tell themselves stories like, I'm just not good with people, or I always mess things up, or I wasn't meant for more. These beliefs act like invisible walls, keeping them stuck inside a version of life that feels far smaller than what they're capable of living. And because these thoughts are so deeply ingrained, they don't question them. They just accept them as truth. And then there's the issue of environment. It's hard to grow when you're surrounded by people who are stuck in the same patterns, when your circle reinforces mediocrity or your daily routine leaves no space for reflection or change. It becomes nearly impossible to break free. Growth feels like pushing against gravity. Every time you make progress, something pulls you back. What makes all of this so difficult is that the challenge isn't always visible. It's not a single event you can point to. It's the slow erosion of drive, clarity, and confidence. It's waking up year after year, feeling like you were meant for more, but not knowing how to access it. That quiet, nagging feeling is the challenge. The question is, what are you going to do about it? When it comes to real, lasting personal growth, most people look in the wrong places. They chase productivity hacks, watch motivational videos, or try to overhaul their entire lives overnight. But transformation doesn't start on the outside. It starts within. The shift begins the moment you realize that everything you need to evolve is already inside you. What's missing isn't ability, it's alignment. The mind, the body, and the emotions all need to work together to create meaningful change. The first step is understanding that your emotional state drives your behavior. When you're in a low energy state, tired, stressed, overwhelmed, you're not thinking clearly, you're reactive instead of intentional. But when you learn how to shift your state, to step into confidence and clarity, even in the face of stress, everything changes. You start showing up differently, making better decisions, and taking action from a place of power rather than fear. The second piece is your story. Everyone lives according to a narrative, who they believe they are, what they think they deserve, and what they expect from life. These stories often go unchallenged. But if your story is rooted in past failures, fear, or scarcity, it will limit every move you make. Rewriting that story, consciously choosing a new identity based on your values and vision, creates a foundation for growth that can't be shaken by outside circumstances. The third piece is strategy. Growth without direction leads to frustration. You need a plan, not just dreams. But strategy doesn't have to be complicated. It's about modeling what works, creating a routine that supports your goals, and tracking your progress without judgment. The key is consistent, intentional action. Not massive leaps all at once, but small, focused steps repeated over time. And finally, there's the environment. If you want to grow, surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. Create a space, physically and emotionally, that supports your evolution. Audit the influences in your life, the conversations you have, the media you consume, the habits you reinforce. Growth thrives in the right atmosphere and withers in a toxic one. All of this adds up to a system, a way of living that supports constant improvement. Not perfection, but progress. Not pressure, but purpose. Growth isn't an event, it's a lifestyle. When you align your state, your story, your strategy, and your surroundings, you create momentum that becomes nearly unstoppable. There comes a moment in every person's life when the excuses no longer hold weight, a moment where the pain of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of change. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet realization while staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., or a pause during a conversation where you suddenly hear yourself repeating the same story you've told for years. But in that moment, something clicks. You realize that no one is coming to save you. The life you want isn't going to magically appear. And the only person who can change your story is you. That's the turning point. The moment when you stop waiting for motivation, for perfect timing, for someone to give you permission, and you start choosing. You choose to take ownership of your life, your thoughts, your actions. You decide that you're done settling, done shrinking to fit in, done letting fear, doubt, or the opinions of others control your path. In that instant, you move from being a passive character in your life to becoming the author. It's not always pretty. There may still be fear. You might not know what the next 10 steps look like, but you don't need to. What matters is the shift in identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who wants change. You become someone who creates it. That subtle but powerful internal shift changes how you show up. You start making different decisions, speaking differently, thinking differently. You become more intentional, more present, more alive. This is the moment most people never reach because it requires full honesty. It means looking at yourself without filters or distractions and asking, is the way I'm living really aligned with who I want to be? And the answer is no. You stop pretending, you stop rationalizing, and you begin rebuilding. Everything starts there. Not with a new job, new relationship, or a New Year's resolution, but with a radical act of self-responsibility. That's where real freedom begins. Because once you fully claim your power, the things that once held you back, procrastination, insecurity, fear of failure, lose their grip. They don't disappear, but they no longer define you. This is not about being perfect, it's about being awake. And once you've woken up to what's possible, there's no going back. Personal growth isn't something reserved for a select few who were born with unusual talent or endless confidence. It's available to anyone willing to confront their truth, commit to change, and consistently take steps forward, no matter how small those steps may seem. Growth is not a destination. It's a way of living. It's a conscious decision to evolve day by day with intention and courage. It begins by recognizing that your current reality is not your final one. No matter how long you've felt stuck, frustrated, or uncertain, the power to change still exists within you. That power isn't about pushing harder or hustling endlessly. It's about aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with a greater vision for your life. When you start from the inside and work outward, growth becomes natural, even inevitable. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need perfect conditions, the ideal mindset, or every answer up front. What you need is clarity on who you want to become, the willingness to release what no longer serves you, and the discipline to keep showing up for yourself, especially on the hard days. Real transformation is built in those ordinary moments when no one's watching, when you choose progress over comfort, self-respect over self-doubt, and purpose over distraction. Throughout this journey, you'll face resistance, your old patterns will try to pull you back, but each time you choose to act in alignment with your growth, you strengthen a new identity, one rooted in self-awareness, resilience, and belief. And slowly, the gap between who you are and who you're becoming begins to close. Remember, it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. This path isn't linear and it won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The results, confidence, clarity, energy, impact are just reflections of the inner work you've chosen to do. At the end of the day, Growth is not something that happens to you. It's something you generate. It's a personal commitment to your own evolution. You have the tools. You have the awareness. Now, the only thing left is the choice. The choice to begin, to stay the course, and to become everything you were meant to be. That choice is yours, and it always has been. This is your moment. Not someday, not when things settle down, not when everything feels perfect right now, because the life you want to live doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins when you do. The question is, are you ready to stop wishing for change and start creating it? You don't need to take a massive leap. All you need to do is take one clear step in a new direction. Decide what you're no longer willing to tolerate from your environment, your habits, or your thoughts. Decide who you want to become. Write it down. Say it out loud. Begin to own that vision like it already belongs to you. Start by asking yourself, what would the best version of me do today? Not next week, not after you feel more confident, today. That one question can shape your choices, shift your mindset, and open doors you never noticed before. Surround yourself with growth. Read things that stretch your thinking, listen to voices that challenge your comfort zone, connect with people who live with passion and purpose, and most importantly, act. Don't wait for motivation. Create momentum through movement. Action builds belief, and belief builds identity. Set one small, meaningful goal, something that pushes you just a bit beyond your current limits, and commit to it fully. Track your progress. Celebrate your effort, not just your results. Learn from your missteps. Adjust without judgment, and keep going. The path to transformation is paved with ordinary days, made extraordinary by the decisions you make on them. So make this day count. Don't just be inspired, be committed. Don't just dream, do. You already have what it takes. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this next chapter. All that's left is the decision to begin writing it. If something inside you knows there's more waiting, don't ignore it. Follow that feeling. Lean into it. Take one step, then another. Let this be the day you draw the line between who you've been and who you're becoming. That version of you, the stronger, bolder, clearer version, isn't far away. They're just on the other side of action. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to begin. So ask yourself, with full honesty, are you ready? If the answer is yes, prove it.